here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Kubernetes Cluster API Azure office hours. We meet here every Thursday at 9 o'clock Pacific time. As you're probably aware, we are a subproject of SIG Cluster Lifecycle, and therefore we try to abide by the general Kubernetes community code of conduct, which boils down to try to use the raise hand feature so we don't all talk over each other, try to be nice to each other. We don't generally have any issues here, but it's worth saying. We are recording this meeting, so if you don't want to be recorded, you can certainly turn your video off, but I'd like to see everybody's faces. If you want to add your name to the attendees list here, that'd be great. This is also a time at the beginning of the meeting where we usually allow a few seconds for anyone who's new to say hello and say why they're here. I don't think that's the case, but I can certainly be quiet for a few seconds if anyone wants to say anything. All right. Let's move on to open discussion. We don't really have any topics. I just added the patch releases here because I think we actually we did have a user in the Slack channel who was interested in getting the open telemetry vendoring that we merged this week because it sounds like they're vendoring CapZ into their product, or they have some collision between imports. And so that was enough for us to cherry pick that. But there is an actual bug fixer too in the, you can go see what that is. So long story short, I think we should do a patch release. Because John contributed at least 2 serious bug fixes, I think, that we cherry picked. Controller true, and so I think that's enough justification. So I have enough bandwidth to actually do the release, but if anybody else wants to, I don't want to own that process. So John did it last time and did a great job. If anybody else wants to give it a try, I could pair with you, or I can just handle it. Nobody seems super psyched, so I will do the patch release, which is totally fine. Cecile?
Yeah, I will let you do the patch release. However, I did want to side note that I got an action working in Cappy to do tag and branch management for releases. And I'm going through the review process for that. But if it ends up working out well, we could also bring that change to CapZ and be able to do, like anyone would be able to kick off a release, essentially. You wouldn't need to be maintainer with write permissions. And it would just go through the normal PR review process to approve the release, essentially. So this might not be a conversation we need to have in the future. But yeah, also +1 for patch releases today, and thanks for taking care of that, Matt.
Sure, no problem. It's pretty routine. I'm just writing down what you were saying. That would be great, actually, if anybody could initiate a release.
I can link to the PR if anyone's interested in taking a look.
Okay. Cool. Well, I'll as usual, I'll try to make a note I will make a little announcement in the Slack channel in case anybody wants to join me for the actual patch release process, which is not super interesting, but if you haven't seen it done. Anyway. Okay. Do we have any other discussion topics? Anybody wants to bring up? That's all right. John, you want to talk about node prototyping proposal?
Sure. So I will brag on behalf of Benny just to say that the node prototyping proposal has merged. So thank you for everyone that took a look and reviewed that. I like how that ended up. So I think that'll be a good feature to have in the future. Yeah, that was all I wanted to mention.
Yeah, good stuff. We like intern-driven development. Benny was great. Um, and hopefully not the last we've seen of him. Cool. Topics are being added in real time. Cecile, I'm just going to click on this and you or John can talk about it.
Yeah, I don't think Jonathan's here, but I just wanted to bring this to your attention, Matt. So I think we're pretty much ready for review, but I wanted to check with you if you wanted to take a look at this before merge.
I do,
There
and this is,
was
yeah,
okay.
sorry to interrupt. This is the
Oh
first
no,
tab I have open
go
on
ahead.
my browser. This is my first task this morning, but I wasn't able to get to it before the meeting. So
Okay, okay,
I
no
will
worries.
take a
I
look at it
will
right
hold
after
on.
this.
Just didn't want to approve if you were planning on taking a look today. I'll hold. There was one area specifically around fault domain counts for the MSS Flex versus Uniform that I think Jonathan wanted your input on. But yeah, so I'll let you take a look and I will stand down for now. Thank you.
Great, I will do that. All right, any other open topics, open discussion topics? We go on to milestone review. Do we want to look at things through the milestone, or we want to do the PR triage approach, or what? We've gotten kind of creative here.
I would vote for the needs review, PR triage. Just make sure we have, yeah, just make sure somebody has that. And then we never finished the bug triage, well, last week.
Okay. Sounds good. We were just talking about this one. This has actually gotten a lot of review. Thank you, everybody, for taking a look at this. So I think maybe I think perhaps the only thing I had to do in here that is still controversial is some of the E2E test structures were changed. And so now essentially you get a different input struct and there's no way to access the flavor anymore. We used to actually look at the flavor and go, oh, it's flat car. We need to find the, CA certificates in a different location, essentially. Now we don't have access to that in the tests. It didn't look like there was any reasonable way to do that without creating a whole parallel set of interfaces to what E2E is using. So we're just looking in the name of the cluster for the word flat car, which generally is going to work since we're in the E2E context. But so, Cecile, sorry, I'm probably going in the weeds already.
Sorry, I'm about to go even more into the weeds.
Okay, good.
Would it be, do you think, how hard would it be to add it back to the interface in the CAPI test framework? Because that's something that would qualify as a backport. It's test improvement.
Well, so basically there's this waiter interface that we indirectly rely on every time we say like ensure control plane. We have those eventually waiters. It uses this interface, and the interface got changed to use two completely different objects. And I don't think this was done with an eye to, hey, this might break other people's stuff, because these are exported, even though it's the E2E framework. Well, I might not be able to find the exact relevant diffs, but this is a pretty big PR that changed the waiter interface to use two different but similar objects, and it seems to have worked for everybody else but us. It would be a lot of work, but we could do it. It would have to be an upstream change, I think, right? Or I guess we could probably clone the code and do it locally, but I think it would be a lot of copied code.
Sorry, my question was more like, let's say we do use your workaround for now, which is to just look at the cluster name. Could we also make a PR in CAPI in parallel that adds that flavor field back to the new interface? Because it sounds like it was just omitted, but it could very well be there.
Yes, probably.
Or am I misunderstanding? Because I see they added some of the stuff in config cluster, like namespace and name, but not flavor. And
Yeah.
so I think in theory, there's nothing that prevents it from having flavor as well in there, right? Exposed.
I think in theory that's true. I don't know the exact changes, so maybe there's some reason that would be difficult, but it doesn't sound like it on the face of it. We should definitely try that.
Okay, I will sign up to go take a look at that if that's okay.
Oh, that'd be
I
great.
think I have a
Sure.
pretty good idea of what to do.
And I'm pretty sure this is working, but I think the optional test failed, so I need to dig into that. If it's not even working, then obviously, no, it has passed before. So that includes Flatcar. So this must, generally speaking, work. Okay. Yeah. Maybe this is the time we. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Matt. I did raise my hand, but I thought you might have missed it.
I don't see very well.
The previous PR. So do we wait for this until we fix the issue in CAPI, or we are gonna do parallelly?
I think we could merge this while we're looking at CAPI.
Got it.
Because this.
Yeah.
There's not any particular urgency, but it would have been great if this is merged a while ago. It's almost a month old.
Yeah, because otherwise it's a long PR and you don't want to get into other issues, rebase or something. So got it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
This one is actually interesting and controversial in that some of us, or at least I, like it and other people don't. So maybe we can kind of collectively make a decision on this today. Or Nawaz, do you have a read on where this is going?
Oh, sorry.
For context for people, we have this pre-commit hook. So every time you commit locally, it'll run some stuff that I think is very useful. And then this adds a bunch more things to it.
Oh, yeah, right. Thank you for sharing the context, Matt. So this PR is, in my opinion, it's ready to merge, but then I think there was some discussion going on in here saying maybe this is an overkill, which I also understand because this could slow down a person's git commit process. But I'm not sure. I think I'm waiting on Jonathan and Ashutosh or people who are using this to either LGTM commit or maybe suggest to close. I'm open for anything. But all this one is doing is we already have those make targets. It's just going to add it to the Git pre-commit workflow. So anyone who's trying to run Git commit on their dev environment with a pre-commit framework installed, it'll run some additional checks. Apart from the linter, it'll also run make verify boilerplates, make verify the ones which I have added in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ashutosh?
Yeah, I mean, this is fantastic, but I have only one issue that even if we do make small changes, and I know I don't want to do all of this. I just want to raise a small change PR. So if this is something that a developer can enable optionally onto this setup, that would be great. But I don't have any strong opinions per se onto that. But yeah, it would be nice to not have this enforced. I don't know how much time will it end up taking, running all of those. But yeah, I see Nawaz raised hand. So
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I could probably run a time on one of a commit with a small change and see how much time it takes to run. But again, just to reiterate, this change is not an enforcing one. This is more of an optional one, which you can opt into by running pre-commit install. All this is doing is we already have a pre-commit configured in the code base. So anyone and everyone who has rebase their branch with main should have the framework configuration in their code base already, or at least in their fork. But if you haven't run pre-commit install, the framework would not be installed. So this is not really enforcing. But that being said, if you are using pre-commit config and you don't want this, and say if you have a very minor change and you're not looking to run all of these linter, you can specify additional flag saying git commit your message and then hyphen no verify, and that should skip the all of this check. Yeah, I mean, that was the solution I found, but if the community feels that, yeah, this is an overkill, we can of course close this out. This was just small improvement which I thought which we could add, but if this is slowing our dev workflow, then yeah, we can close it out. It's totally fine, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think I'm personally okay with this, like as long as I know like how to disable this thing. But yeah, this is in a way it's good also. So I'm neutral onto this now, knowing that I can run a command that kind of skips all of this. So yeah, I'm happy to hear what the other folks have to say on this.
David?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, I feel like to kind of close out, I feel like as long as there's one spot in the documentation, developer documentation on how to opt out of the commits, I feel like we should just go ahead and merge it. And then if we get feedback from people saying this is just not acceptable for some reason, then we can make adjustments. But I feel like overall it is a good thing, especially if it's not, making people do it anyway.
Yeah, my 2 cents is I've been using the pre-commit hook since it got committed. And so it runs, 4 stages, the only one of which that takes any significant time is the linter stage. And that can take up to a minute sometimes when it's wrong, but I've gotten used to that. And then when I'm committing stuff that I know isn't going to pass, I've gotten used to doing -- no verify. And none of that happens unless you go intentionally run a command to install the pre-commit hook. So, it's not really going to impair anybody by default unless you opt into the pre-commit hook. And then once you're used to that, you get used to using no verify. So I found it very useful and pretty frictionless. And I'd like to add these additional ones, but so thumbs up from me, but I don't want to do this if other people find it gets in the way. That's all. All right, well, we've probably talked that one to death.
I think we got progress. So I think there's enough +1 consensus here to move forward. So I think we can LGTM it. Don't have to do it here, but yeah.
Yeah. This is still in review, I think, right? I haven't looked at this yet. Nawaz has
I
been
think this
reviewing
should
it.
be marked. Sorry,
Yeah.
didn't mean. I think this should be marked as waiting for author because we're waiting for unit tests.
Okay.
Other than that, we're aligned, but we haven't heard back from the author since review.
Require Azure Cluster Identity for auth. This is another one I intend to look at finally today. We don't need to drill into everything, I suppose, but
I don't think you're seeing hand met, but Willie's.
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Willie. You can just interrupt me.
Yeah, I just kind of put this up for review. It was work in progress for a while. And looks like there were some reviews this morning that I haven't gotten to yet. So I guess it's wait on author for the moment, but I'm gonna get right to it.
I'll just leave it in this status unless you think we should.
Yeah, it shouldn't take very long at all. So
sounds good. All right, John has gained momentum and is doubling down on the pause handling. So I assume this won't be a nightmare to review.
Yes, I mean that PR is, I think the bot did take it extra large, but yeah, all the changes are kind of mirroring those other 2 PRs that are linked in the PR description. So it shouldn't be anything terribly new or intense to review.
I looked at some other ones, so I'm happy to do that.
Cool, thanks.
And these two I think we maybe have talked about, but these are pretty straightforward. They're just adding some new functions that will soon be used by the new SDK v2 framework, and they're pretty complete with unit tests and shouldn't be too hard to review. So, but they're not super urgent. If they're sitting out for another week, then it might slow me down. But if anybody has time to get to those, that'd be great. And I know actually Jonathan's reviewed one of them pretty thoroughly, so that was very helpful. Blocked. I know we've talked about this recently, Willie. I don't want to dredge up anything unless there's new information. And these two are both dependent on the 1.5, CAPI 1.5 merge, so they'll just get closed when that happens. And this has no status. This is actually in the same status as the other ones that we just looked at. It's blocked by, it won't be fixed by, but it's blocked by the CAPI 1.5 upgrade. Make scale set VMs delete async.
That is ready for review.
Yeah.
It needs review. But I think we should merge the other one first. I mean, technically they're not conflicting, but
Right.
one extra large refactor at a time.
Okay, so needs review. Wait on author. I assume these are all probably accurate.
I think all the CapH stuff should be marked as blocked since that's also blocked on CAPI 1.5 actually. So number
that is true. Yeah, there's a couple of them.
yeah.
Oops, wrong field. Any other ones?
26.
There's one. Yeah, yeah. A lot of blocked. Maybe we should prioritize the 1.5 merge, I guess.
Yes.
Okay, anything else on this page we want to look at?
So for 1.5, just to summarize, I'm going to look at CAPI framework, but that's non-blocking. That's in parallel in the background. What are we waiting for in terms of 1.5? Is it just a matter of someone doing another round of review, or is there anything you still need to fix in there, Matt?
Yeah, Jonathan gave me one admittedly very ticky-tack comment, but he's right. So I'm going to change the context that we're constructing in one test. And then I need to verify that the optional tests are passing again and that the little flat car thing we just talked about works. Other than that, I think there's nothing. I think it's ready to go. I mean, it could certainly use more eyes on it, but there have been a few reviews already.
Okay, so right now it's technically waiting for author and then another round of review and we should be good.
Yes, but I think we can do that today.
Sounds good.
Is there anything anybody wants to call out in the in progress list here? Here's another one I intend to look at, Ashutosh. I'm just reviewing today. I'm not writing any code.
Yeah, I think Willie has been helping on that. So thanks to verify. I just wanted like another pair of eyes. So it looks good now. I think there's one comment from Willie to add a debugging section on the document. I'll do that and it should be good to go. Willie.
Oh, Cecile, did you want to say something? I think you, okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I've just been like trying to run through the doc. So I was able to get workload identity working with an AAD app, but there's another way to do it with workload or with user assigned identity, and I still couldn't get that to work. So we're still probably trying to wait to see if I can make that work. Otherwise, yeah, I've just been running through it, and I've been able to get AD app working, so I can now try to test this with Matt's SDK v2 change when we requiring the Azure cluster identity instead. And I'll be testing that now. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll also run through. Sorry, man. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll also run through by doing an end-to-end user assigned identity and update on the thread or here in the PR. So yeah, I think I should be able to do that by tomorrow.
Great. What else would, go ahead, John.
Yeah, for the enable ASO PR, that is kind of the PR that will flip on ASO for the first time and have that do resource group stuff. And I did run a bunch of tests on that the other day, and pretty much everything that I expected to pass did pass, so that's cool. There's just a couple small gaps with some auth things like workload ID and user sign managed system identity, but other than that, I think all the tests look pretty good, so that's encouraging.
Exciting. That's what it is. That's cool. So this, you're still got a little iteration, but it's worth reviewing. Is that kind of where it's at, or?
Yeah, I told Jonathan yesterday that I wasn't planning on making any big changes, and I just made a big change today, so that's on me. But yeah, so if you do want to leave feedback, that's cool. But this is not ready to merge yet until we can get all of those tests passing.
Makes sense. Alrighty. Anything else here we want to talk about? We want to look at PRs or issues, or call it good?
And I would vote to at least get through the bug list where we left off. That would be nice.
Sure. I don't remember where we left off.
You could look
we
at the
had a
label,
good.
the ones that have the because we have labels on them, so we kind of went top to bottom, and then the ones that don't have labels for priority is where we kind of were.
You mean
So
like
I think
the status is assigned, or
yeah. So priority backlog means we looked at it.
okay.
And priority, yeah. See how
Oh, actual
priority
priority labels. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, priority labels tells us that we looked at it at least once. So I think we're down to whatever that one is there.
You want to? This one is not have a priority, I guess.
I think that was on me to follow up.
Needs
if I
triage.
remember
Yes.
correctly.
Yeah, needs triage I think also counts as if we looked at it.
Oh, I see.
Thank
Okay. This has priority. This has priority. This one does not. Make generate is broken. Is that true? I don't even know. Well, it's marked as help wanted, which seems appropriate. We might even, I don't know, is this a good first issue or is this too complicated? Guess you need to know go pretty well.
Yeah, I feel like this might. Oh, sorry, Cecile, I didn't raise my.
Go ahead, Cecile.
Oh, I was gonna ask if there's a clear ask in the issue of what needs to be changed, because the initial issue description and title is just a user running into an issue, but for a good first issue, typically we want to be also pointing at what change needs to be made. Okay, so yeah, so it sounds like John did comment.
Seems pretty thorough.
Go ahead, Willie.
Yeah, I was gonna mention, I didn't see that comment from John. I was gonna say that this might be too complicated for a good first issue from my experience, because I created a bunch of those for unit testing, and yeah, just from my previous experience. But if there's like a clear like laid out steps like that would help a lot for a good first issue, and it
Yeah.
seems like John did that. So
Yeah, I was just going to mention that I barely remember this at all, so I would need to kind of completely ramp up again. So If people ask me questions about this, I may not know the answer.
So do you think it's worth marking it as good first issue, or is that, go ahead, Cecile?
I think from what was said, I would say not a good first issue and priority backlog.
Okay.
Because not if it's been there since 2022, seems like it's not a super high priority.
You can do this, right, as a shortcut for the label thing, priority.
Yeah, I think that should work. Hopefully. Maybe not.
Yes, it did. I just didn't
Oh,
update.
Perfect.
Sorry, I'll make my screen a little wider. You can see it all at one time. E2E test logs are missing the entire controller manager logs. Ooh, this one's almost 2 years old. Hopefully this is not true anymore, but I bet it is. Oh, and Cecile. Huh,
I think that was a lie.
it was a hopeful.
Yeah.
Okay, so we weren't able to fix this, and it's been out there for a long time, and it's probably still a problem. But it's probably much too hard for good first issue. Should we mark it as help wanted and priority backlog, or?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. This is kind of a very difficult one to track down, but
Yeah,
it would be great to figure it out at some point. It's a end-to-end test bug though, so not high priority and not affecting any users.
right. Okay. Azure machine template reconcile occasionally fails to find Azure cluster identity. It's another senior bug. And it got closed, it got reopened, it got closed by the stalebot, got reopened, and we don't know.
Yeah, I think I'd taken a look at some impact, but then lost track of it. So I don't have much context now. But I had faced this issue like sometime back, but not very recently.
Um,
I think
it's already help
we
wanted,
can
so I
mark
guess we
this
can
as
already backlog.
Yeah.
Apparently, yeah. All right. Could not get instance metadata on Windows Node. All right. Mark looked at it, had some suggestions. Host process containers. And wow, this one has a nice long history. And then at some point we kind of dropped the ball or gave up here. We worked around it by running CSI drivers and host process, but we should try to understand why it worked in AKS engine. AKS engine. And more speculating, and it's still sitting here. Not planned, lifecycle frozen, open. So Mark wants to keep this open for sure. Okay, anyway, sorry, that was a long scroll to get to priority backlog, I guess. Although this does seem like potentially a big problem, but it sounds like we have an effective workaround. So can't fix everything, unfortunately. API server gets stuck in pending during deployment when used in pre-submit. Okay. Pending pod scheduled. Yeah, no. Ran into again. Still last year. Still an issue as of a long time ago. Should we just ask Mark if this is still a thing, or should we give it?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I would say maybe priority awaiting more evidence and then ask Mark, is this still something we should keep open?
I have a general question, like at what stage we should like consider also closing some of the issues that are too old and we don't hear from authors, like something we should be doing.
Yeah. Well, we have the stale bot, which generally speaking is the elegant way to let things die, right? Because then we didn't have to touch it and it just aged out and got closed. But these are ones where people kept going in and saying, no, it's not stale, it's still an issue.
Mm.
But I think in general, we let the stale bot eventually say to close things for us. But on these ones, at some point we should take an executive decision and say we're not going to deal with this. All right, optionally but implicitly required. Okay. I have a cluster. Yeah, Nawaz, go ahead.
Yeah, I can summarize this. I was taking a look at this yesterday. I think this was a twofold issue. One which got fixed by 3639, and the other one is probably a super small fix where we have to make one of the versions field optional. I think that is it. Maybe John has a clear idea. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't remember if this was a super easy fix, because I think we do need the version at some point, so we would need to like query for it. So we might need to like query what the default is. But yeah, I would need to take another look through that.
So do we want to mark it as needs triage still, or give it a priority?
I think priority backlog is probably fine, because this is only an issue if you explicitly remove the version from the AKS template. So I don't think people will be running into this normally.
Makes sense. All right. Well, I think that's probably good enough then. Support for configurable network interview should be able to create multiple subnets. Yeah. That seems like that's true. We want to just give this priority backlog. Do you think, Nawaz? Anybody else?
I'm sorry. Yeah, priority backlog sounds good. Yeah.
Should this be should this be priority important long term? I think it's like it's a real bug, no?
Yeah. Yep.
That's user facing.
Sure.
Uh-huh.
It's like this, right? Important to long term, I think.
I think so.
Thank you.
See if. Yeah, thank you. See if that worked. Yay. Make generate doesn't update. Oh yeah, I just looked at this. I didn't. This. He's still working on it. We can say priority. I mean, this is a bug we know about that should be fixed, so it's not really backlog, and it shouldn't be too hard to fix. But he pinged us just 2 hours ago, so it's in progress. When using CAPC for pre-submits, if the Kate's job name is too long, it fails. Yikes. So this is still an issue, and Cecile has a good suggestion. And do we actually, is this backlog, or do we actually run into this in the,
I think this is a backlog. It's a test issue, but maybe we can mark it as help wanted because, yeah, I think there's some possibility to apply the suggestion I wrote in the comment.
okay.
Shouldn't be too difficult.
Oh, this is on here. I just noticed when Nawaz did the cherry pick that we have a func that is too cyclomatically complex, and it's like pretty easy to break it down. So we want to, I guess, do we want to mark these good first issues with backlog status? Nawaz?
Uh, I don't really have an opinion about the backlog tag, but then I just wanted to thank you for this. I think, yeah, I noticed your comment and thank you for opening this. I think this is a really good, good first issue.
Yeah, this seems tractable. Should I assign a priority to it? I'm not sure what the policy is. Cecile?
Yeah, I mean, we don't really have a policy yet, but I think last time we said that we should assign a priority to even good first issues because it gives us like signal we've looked at it, but we shouldn't. Ideally, a good first issue should never be priority critical urgent because we don't
Yeah.
want first time contributors to be on the critical path for like a critical bug. But something like this is a perfect good first issue because it's not, you know, blocking users or in any way, but it's a good thing to fix eventually.
Yes, exactly. Okay, I think we hit all these. And yeah, actually, I created a few more good first issues because I found really low hanging fruit. So we had some comments like remove this line, and they were from almost 2 years ago. So that should be straightforward. And then there's this import thing. Go ahead, Cecile.
Actually, now that you're pointing that out, that also makes me think that parameters issue should probably not be marked as kind bug. It should probably be marked as kind cleanup, just like the others, right? Because it's a code cleanup issue.
True.
But yeah, thanks so much for opening those. I saw them this morning. They're really great first issues.
Yeah, and someone bounced on one already. That's very satisfying. I don't know if you can unapply a label with the chat commands or not. Although I learned this morning, David Tesser, you may also have learned that there is no way to unassign someone in a chat ops command. There's only unassign, which means unassign me, but I couldn't like unassign Cecile that way. That's how it's documented in Crow. That's how it's documented in Crow, and that's how it seems to work, because I did unassign for a couple people who hadn't touched it in months and it didn't do a thing.
Huh. Weird.
Well, I might be wrong, but that's what the well, we don't need to get into it now, but I went and looked at the prowl commands, and there's just assign user, and unassign.
I think it worked previously for sure. Something might
Did
have
it?
changed.
Well, I might be wrong, but it didn't. And maybe prowl was asleep this morning, but I had to click the button.
Because I just saw one of the issues where Cecile had unassigned me, and I think it got unassigned.
And it worked? Okay. Well, maybe it was just.
I'm not sure also. Like,
all right. Well, I'm just spreading misinformation then, but that's what I thought was going on this morning. Willie, did you have something to say, or are you gonna pile on that I'm wrong?
Yeah, I was gonna mention I saw the same thing where Cecile like unassigned the host.
Oh, okay.
It's okay. It's not like it's on YouTube forever.
It's true. I can edit this before I upload it. Cool. We went through all those. I think that's enough bug hunting for today, or is there anything we want to look at the PRs? I'm seeing some nods. All right, let's call it good for today. We got through all these in the planning list, the bugs list. Does anybody have anything else to bring up?
Thanks, Matt, for taking us through all of those boards.
Of course. Thanks everybody for showing up. We'll see you all next week.
Thanks, Matt, for hosting. Take care, folks. Bye.
Thank you. See y'all.
Thank you, everyone.